Over the past couple years, there has been a really big shift when it comes to drivers who are most successful in NASCAR. And obviously, this has kind of been the same in the lower series as it's always been changing for a long time. But in the Cup Series, it really feels like the first time since the early 2000s that there is a huge paradigm shift when it comes to the age of drivers winning, succeeding, going for championships, winning championships. And I think it's something a lot of people haven't noticed because it's been a really slow burn over time. In a lot of the most recent broadcasts, there's been a really overused stat that in X amount of races in the past, whatever amount it's been, the drivers that won were 29 years old or younger, and that it was a NASCAR record. Currently, we're at 10 races in a row. Now, I will say also that 26 of the last 40 races were won by drivers under 30. All of this really adds into what I have stated from the get-go, that the youth movement that NASCAR has right now, the modern youth movement, is really in full swing. But there are a few misleading stats in all this. I want to read you the last 10 winners when it comes to these guys who are between 21 and 29 years old and this record that's been made. Here we go. Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe. You seeing a bit of a pattern there? Out of the 26 wins in the last 40 races that have been won by guys under 30, 15 of them have come from Kyle Larson or Alex Bowman. So when you take those 15 races out, it leaves 11 of the 25 races won by these young drivers. And 7 of the previous 10 races that NASCAR's Cup Series has run have been won by Larson and Bowman. So I will say those stats that are being pushed out as the big headlines are misleading, but they do coincide with the way that NASCAR's driver core is going right now. 9 of the last 16 winners have been under the age of 30 years old. Christopher Bell won last year at the Daytona Road Course. William Byron at Homestead. We got Kyle Larson with 10 wins last year. Ryan Blaney with 3 wins. Chase Elliott got 2. Bubba Wallace won at Talladega last year. Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500 this year. And Chase Briscoe won the most recent race as of recording this video at Phoenix. This is a huge trend in the right direction for NASCAR, as they've been pushing for years that this young generation was finally going to spring up and take over the reins from the old. And generally, a lot of drivers that are in this age range right here and in this group have either A, been really great prospects coming into NASCAR, B, become transcendent personalities in NASCAR, or C, have won championships or competed for championships at a high and elite level year in and year out. It's clear right now that this new crop of drivers is starting to come into their own. Let's look back at a couple groups of drivers that I really think could be looked at as very similar together. Number 1, we got the last 2 champions. Very young drivers at that. Chase Elliott won in 2020, and Kyle Larson won in 2021. Elliott kind of came out of nowhere at the end of the year for a lot of people, and Kyle Larson last year basically took control of the NASCAR world by the reins and has not let go since, for the most part. These guys are definitely in the elite tier of these younger crop of drivers. And I think one other guy is really starting to break into this group, and that is Ryan Blaney. Blaney leads tons of laps in a lot of races, even if he doesn't win them. He has started to win more often. He wins at different types of tracks. Overall, Ryan Blaney seems to be a step or two away from being a championship contender or championship winning driver that people can put on the same level as Elliott and Larson. And while he hasn't won a championship, I still think he's above the group that I really call the contenders of this group. Alex Bowman, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and Christopher Bell, each of them in varying degrees. Alex Bowman right now is the winningest of them. Like Ryan Blaney, he has 7 career wins in his short career so far, And he's shown that he can have flashes of absolute brilliance, as shown by his 4-win campaign in 2021. The thing is that Alex Bowman doesn't have the consistency yet, but if he puts that together, he'll be just as much of a threat as any of his teammates, including William Byron. Who, while at the moment not having the wins, has shown a little bit more consistency and a lot more upside compared to pretty much anyone else we talk about in this video. Byron, in a lot of ways, seems to be a superstar in the making, and on a Hendrick Motorsports team as stacked as this one and as young as this one, he can get left in the fold similar to Alex Bowman. Another driver who has really jumped up to this group, especially with the next-gen car, is Tyler Reddick. Reddick has shown in the past that he can outperform his equipment, as shown by his Xfinity Championship with Richard Childress Racing in 2019. While not showing the greatest results in the world since going to the 8 car in the Cup Series, he has shown, again, flashes of brilliance like others in this list. Christopher Bell, on the other hand, has shown very good streaks as well. Winning at the Daytona Road Course, a track that not many have experience at, and a very talent-based track, is impressive. But on top of that, he's run well at tracks like New Hampshire as well as other road courses. He shows talent, but isn't consistent like his JGR teammates. Now, I don't think that performance on the track necessarily defines a generation either. For instance, in the last generation, we saw drivers who didn't perform on the track or hadn't won championships in well over a decade be the most transcendent and popular people in the sport. But since then, they've all retired, and in their place have come guys like Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, and Bubba Wallace. Chase Elliott has taken over the core base of NASCAR fans. A lot of Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. fans jumped over to Elliott once their drivers retired, and he has also kept the Elliott fandom that his dad had. Kyle Larson, on the other hand, has shown a lot of promise when it comes to a little bit more outer circles of NASCAR, but still in the racing circles. He's someone who could draw people in the same way that Tony Stewart could in a lot of ways. Daniel Suarez is the only Mexican-American driver in NASCAR right now who hails from Mexico and has a lot of international presence, something that NASCAR has suffered greatly from lack thereof. And then there's Bubba Wallace. Say what you will about Bubba Wallace, but he is the most transcendent driver in the sport. Ask people around the country to name a modern NASCAR driver, and Bubba Wallace will probably be the one they name. He is the only household name left in NASCAR. But the Cup Series is not the only place that a youth movement grows. Of course, you have to look in the pipelines, in the Xfinity and Truck Series especially. In the Xfinity Series, there's 3 guys that really catch my eye, one of which is very quiet, and that's Brandon Jones. Wins a couple races, has sponsorship. He's always going to kind of be there in some way or another. Then you have Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs is the grandson of legendary football head coach and legendary car owner Joe Gibbs. And Ty Gibbs has started to make a name for himself, a very aggressive driver, kind of like a younger version of Kyle Busch, who goes out, goes for broke, goes for wins, and is upset with anything short of that. And then you have Noah Gragson, a driver who oozes personality with every single sentence he speaks in front of a camera. Every time he drives, he has some sort of great moment on the track, and in general is probably the most entertaining personality in all of NASCAR. You look in the Truck Series, you have another quiet talent who really could probably jump up through the ranks if given the right opportunities in Carson Hocevar, someone who has a great personality as well, and everyone can tune into pre-race shows at that to see what kind of hat he's wearing. Zane Smith is somebody who kind of has that Kyle Busch wild gene in him that just manages to go 4 wide all on his own. And then you got Hailie Deegan, probably the only other driver in NASCAR who could rival Bubba Wallace in how transcendent she is when it comes to the wider general public. When people look at Hailie Deegan, you might see her as a vlogger. You might see her as a girl that was on Ridiculousness, or somebody who just makes guest appearances at different pop culture shows. But she's a driver at that too. Someone who, if she does succeed, which at this moment is a very big if, would be a very, very big asset to NASCAR. All of this is kind of a natural progression. all forms of sports and motorsports have this. Whether you look at the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, all of these sporting leagues do the same thing, while younger talent takes their place. And in NASCAR, we've seen this before. In the 2000s, we had the greatest youth movement in the sport's history come along. And while this current one has taken a slower march to get there, they're definitely starting to emulate their predecessors. It really does feel like the pendulum has swung into the direction of the youth, and in my honest opinion, it's never going back. Now, I've said all of this in response to what we've seen with a lot of young drivers really running up front. We saw it at Phoenix yesterday as of recording this video with guys like Chase Briscoe, Tyler Reddick, Daniel Suarez, and of course, Ross Chastain. But now I want to pass this on to you. Of the current drivers that are in the youth movement that has taken over the Cup Series on down, who is it that you are most excited for and rooting for to do the best? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And all my channel members, thank you so much for all of your support. So until next time, have a good one.